Hey, house guests! Welcome to today's Big Brother 23 updates and spoilers. Happy Tuesday! Hope you're all having a great day so far. Mine's okay. Our house guests of the day are Rachel McClung and the T of Texas. For the support, we could not do this without you, and we appreciate it so much. So thank you again. And if you guys want to be house guests of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. We still got time left, right? We got a little under a month left of this season, and it's only $1 for a holla. So that's a great bargain. I also want to thank yesterday's super chatters before we get started, because that is another fantastic way to support this channel and keep us doing our live streams and our episode recaps. So Jefferson Tucker, John S., Trisha C., Lisa, Eric N., John, Sean, and Jefferson Tucker again. Thank you all so much for the super chats. And I see we already have some super chats today. Wonderful. Sheena123, thank you for the super chat. And he asks, are you excited for Survivor 41? And have you seen the cast for the new season? That's a great question. He says it starts September 22nd and it's only 26 days, not 39 days. I didn't realize it was that much shorter. Damn. But anyway, I am very excited for Survivor 41. We did not get a chance yet to look at the new cast, but we will be checking that out. I don't think we're making a cast reveal video or anything like that, but we're very excited to watch. Very excited. I've missed Survivor this past year and a half, whatever. What is time anymore? Jefferson Tucker, thank you for the super chat. He says, hurricanes, wars, and yet the #1 trending topic on Twitter today. Yes, hashtag Kai complains. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. It's going to be fun. All right, so let's get started. When we left off yesterday, they had just had the power veto ceremony, and Hannah used the power veto on Xavier. There was no replacement nominee because he was the third nominee due to a punishment from last week's power veto. And now all of his punishments are done from that POV competition. He's free. Woo! Okay, so that means Kyland and Sarah Beth remain up on the block, and one of them will be leaving on Thursday. Sarah Beth is the target. Sarah Beth will most likely be leaving this week, but Kyland's really been pissing everyone off lately. Maybe if he continues to spiral, the cookout will decide to cut him loose. You never know. So he was trying to convince Hannah before the power veto ceremony to use the POV on him so that he could give Sarah Beth a sympathy vote. That request was denied. The cookout was also not happy with him because Kyland was saying he wants to win HOH again next week. I might not survive if Kyland wins another HOH. I can't handle it. The first 2 times were more than enough. But anyway, after the power veto ceremony, Sarah Beth and Kyland retreat up to the have-not room, and Kyland says he's not going to be doing much this week. We'll see about that. Don't make a promise that you can't keep. But Sarah Beth says she's probably going to wait until Wednesday to have her campaign one-on-ones, and she'll see what happens with that. But in the meantime, she's just going to be friendly with people and maybe talk about the vote if it comes up. Okay, Kyland says he's probably going to talk like long-term strategy with people to see what comes up with that. But he also says he will not be doing his one-on-one campaigns or actual campaigning, whatever, until Wednesday. Sure. Okay, so meanwhile, Azza and Big D are chatting outside about next week. They've already moved on from this week. Sarah Beth is going. Time to think about what we're going to do next week. That's like how it's been rocking and rolling this season. So Big D says, all right, this is where my head's at. Claire is coming for me. She wants me out for sure. I need to make sure that she goes home next week. So Azza's like, who told you that Claire is coming for you? What? Big D says, well, based off of Claire and DX trying to flip the votes against me a few weeks ago when he was up with Brittany, plus her demeanor. She talks game with everyone, but she's only talked game with me during our one-on-ones. And he's talking about like the pre-voting one-on-ones. So Big D says, I kind of want to pull Claire aside and ask her like where she stands with me. Is that a good idea? I don't know. So then Hannah joins them outside, and Big D says he's worried that Claire is going to win HOH and target him. So Hannah and Azza remind him Claire cannot win HOH next week because she won the Coin of Destiny this week. She's the anonymous HOH, so she has to throw the next HOH competition. But Big D says the plan's going to be really effed up if Claire escapes the block next week. She's got to go. So Azza says, I don't know. I don't really agree with Claire being the next target. But if that is what the cookout wants as a group, I have no problem being the one to put her up on the block and send her out. So Big D is like, all right, well, if you feel like Alyssa needs to go next, just go ahead and do that. You know, you got to do what's best for your game. But if Claire wins HOH, I'm not going out easy because I know she's coming after me. Oh boy. She can't win HOH next week. I guess he means like any week in the future if Claire wins, but it's a little ridiculous. So Azza says, look, I'm not trying to change people's minds here. I'm just stating my opinion. She's, I think, a little bit scarred from like voicing her opinions in the past, and I don't know, people like Tiffany just shooting down her ideas. I think she was also a little bit annoyed because Big D didn't seem like super open to her opinions at first in this conversation. But anyway, they had to put this combo on hiatus when Alyssa came outside and joined them. So Azza and Big D picked it up again a little later in the yacht club bedroom. And Azza brings up, Alyssa can win competitions when she needs to. She's able to wiggle her way out of situations. Claire has proven that she cannot. Okay? No one is safe if Alyssa finds out about the cookout. On the other hand, Claire doesn't have the capability to take one of us out. So she's definitely leaning more towards Alyssa being the target next week. And we know that Big D is leaning towards Claire being the target. So Big D is like, you know, if that's the way you feel, you should talk to everyone else in the cookout about it because your voice matters. We got to listen to everyone's opinions. And of course, he's saying this after Azza was like, I feel like people don't listen to me. They don't want to hear what I have to say. So, of course, he's saying that. But Big D says, again, Claire is coming for me, and he plans to put her up on the block with Tiffany if he wins HOH. And Azza says, no, listen to me. Claire is not targeting you. You can't tell anyone this, but Claire is targeting Xavier. She told me, but Big D is not convinced. So Azza says if she wins HOH, she wants to just put Claire and Alyssa up on the block together. Screw it. We don't need pawns from the cookout. I'm just going to put them up against each other. Azza was saying she wants to really work on her relationships with everyone in the cookout, so she doesn't want to have to put any of them up as pawns. Big D, not super thrilled about the two of them going up on the block together as opposed to one with a pawn. But Alyssa says, look, Azza says, look, if Alyssa or Claire were to come down with the power veto, I would just put Kyland up as the replacement nominee. Whatever. Okay. So a little later, Xavier is pacing around the bathroom and he's like, why would you bring that up? Why would you let someone know, hey, you're on an island? And he's like, what are you doing? Why would you bring that up? So it turns out Alyssa brought up to Claire that she will be the last white person left in the game once Sarah Beth goes. So Xavier says about Alyssa, girl, you were about to make it to Final 7. Now you may have to go out next. He says the only way to keep Claire off the scent that we're not just getting out like non-black people would be that Alyssa has to go next, which means I've got to go on the block again. So he's really nervous that Alyssa is going to blow the cookout's cover with Claire. So Xavier says, frustration, mass amounts of frustration. And he says, I told Alyssa she needs to stop bringing that shit up. Because we've seen Alyssa and Christian in the past talk about this multiple times. She's really been keeping an eye on it. But I don't know that she's fully put together that the cookout is working together. But Xavier says now she might have to go. will she though? You know how much Xavier is like obsessed with Alyssa. So anyway, Xavier and Hannah were chatting outside, and Xavier's telling Hannah what Alyssa said to Claire about Claire being the only white person left, and he's like saying, "Is Alyssa trying to make it to the top 7 or what? You know, what is she doing?" So then they start talking about next week, and they agree neither Xavier nor Tiffany should win the next HOH because their +1s are going to be the targets. They're the only 2 options left outside of the cookout. So Hannah says she doesn't really want to win HOH either. Yes, she can target Alyssa if she wins and it would be fine. But if she does that and then Alyssa wins the power of veto, Hannah doesn't want to have to be the one to put Claire up in her place. Because right now, Alyssa, I keep saying Alyssa. Right now, Hannah is pretty close to Claire and Tiffany. So it wouldn't be a great look for her to put Claire up on the block. So they agree. They would both prefer for Azah or Big D to win the next HOH. They would prefer it not to be Kylan. That would be his 3rd HOH win. And Xavier says, I don't want Kylan's ego to be inflated. And he's going to want to do more information gathering. And I'm sick of that shit. Xavier has had it with Kylan at this point. So Hannah agrees. She says, yeah, I don't want him to have his 3rd HOH win before some of us have even had our 1st. But I feel like she's not really in a position to be complaining about this. When Hannah has thrown multiple competitions, she's saying, I don't want to win this one. If all you guys are saying you don't want to win these competitions, somebody's going to have to do it. And you can't be mad at Kylan for wanting to be that person. So then Xavier is talking about what will happen if Alyssa wins HOH next week. He says, I'm not going to expose the cookout to her, but I will use the angle that we can guarantee that a person of color will win this whole thing if Claire goes next week. And he's pretty confident that Alyssa will be into that. So Hannah says, that's great and all, but the issue is if Alyssa wins HOH and then Claire wins the power veto. Like, somebody from the cookout would have to go. Honestly, I don't think Xavier would be, like, that upset about it. Because he knows it's not going to be him. Alyssa's not going to get rid of him. But it also seems like Xavier is already back to wanting Claire out before Alyssa. So that whole thing didn't last very long. But anyway, a little later, Xavier and Big D are chatting in the have-not room. And they're talking about next week and beyond. So Big D says, we need to be on the same page or else we're going to get picked off. Picked off? What? So Xavier's like, picked off by who? Tiffany, Hannah, and Azah? You think they're all working together? And Big D says, no, but he brings up how there will be more women than men on the jury this season. Oh, not this shit again. So Big D says, all of us guys, we need to be on the same page. So he would like Xavier and Kai to clear things up, get rid of their drama. And Xavier says, I'm going to be fine as long as Kai keeps my name out of his mouth. So Big D says, come on, we can't let the girls make us look stupid. All right, so for next week, Big D says that they should take out Claire. He mentions some other people in the cookout will probably prefer to take a shot at Alyssa. Xavier says he ideally would want someone to win HOH who can put up Claire and Alyssa, because if one of them were to win the power veto, the other one would be going. So they need somebody who would not be in a weird situation, putting both of them up on the block. And Xavier says this would probably reveal the cookout, but at this point, like, who gives an F? Xavier says the nomination speech for both of them going up could be, welcome to the cookout. So right after he said that, Big Brother was like, nope, they cut the feeds. So anyway, Big D agrees, like, yeah, this will guarantee that one of them will go if Claire and Alyssa are up there together. He didn't like this idea when Azah suggested it, but now that Xavier is talking about it, he's like, yeah, sounds good. So then they talk about the possibility of Kai winning HOH next week. And Big D says, I'm going to be pissed if Kylan doesn't let me or Azah win HOH. So you just expect him to like throw it to you? He says, I won't be able to work with Kylan anymore if he wins HOH again. So Xavier says Kylan is trying to pad his stats. He wants to be the fiercest competitor this season. Also, let's be real. Kylan wants the control. He's felt left out of the loop this week. He wants to know he wants to know everything that's going on. You cannot go to the bathroom in that house without Kylan knowing about it. So Xavier wonders if Kylan has other deals within the cookout besides their dude's final 3 deal. You mean like Xavier does? Big D suspects that, yes, Kylan probably does have other deals. Xavier thinks he does too. And he says, I feel like Kylan is trying to make sure that everyone in the cookout would take him to the end. You mean like Xavier is? Xavier's got deals with Big D and Kylan. He's got a final 3 deal with Hannah and Tiffany. He's got a final 3 deal with Azah and Big D. So like he's making sure he's covered all the way around, and he doesn't want anybody else to do that. It's only for him. So then Kylan joins them a few minutes later in the have not room. And Xavier is pacing around for this conversation. You could tell he's like very uncomfy. And he's asking Kylan, what are your thoughts for next week? And Kylan says, I would love to win HOH. Like, I don't mind putting up Alyssa and or Claire, especially after Sarah Beth leaves. Like, I can do whatever. It's going to be great. So Kylan's saying that he wants to win HOH. This is met with some heavy silence. So Kylan says, I am also cool with someone else from the cookout winning, but I know that Hannah and Azah are not as enthusiastic about taking the shot. And he says, I'm not greedy in the sense that I need to win this next HOH. So Big D says, I think the best case scenario would be for me or Azah to win if we can set that up. Oh my God, set that up. I can't with this throwing stuff. So Big D thinks that everyone in the cookout should have a chance to be HOH. He says that is one of his goals. Then win, then win. So Kylan says he can throw it to Big D if it comes down to them. That's totally fine with him. He's on board with that. So then there was more discussion about if they should use a pawn next week or if Alyssa and Claire should go up together. It's just very repetitive. Like, you can only talk about it so many times. They also discuss the 3 of them sticking together against the women of the cookout once it gets down to the final 6. They're like, we can't go after each other. We can't do their dirty work for them. And then Xavier brings up, if Alyssa is the last person left outside of the cookout and she wins HOH at Final 7, I can convince her to target one of the women instead of any of us. Boo! Okay, so then Big Brother blocked the feeds for like a few hours last night, and at first it was kind of unclear why. I did notice that Hannah had like an ace bandage on her wrist, so I don't know if she had some sort of injury or what. But also, it sounds like there was a kitchen fire last night. So I don't know who stepped up and used the fire extinguisher this time, but it seems like every few seasons we've got some sort of a kitchen fire. So while the feeds were down, BB Twitter made their own fun. So yeah, nothing really of interest for the rest of last night except on Twitter. If you guys are bored and looking for a good time, do a search for the hashtag Kai Complains. Apparently, Kylan uses his Twitter a lot to complain to corporations and like ask for free samples and coupons and things like that. You should see these conversations that he gets into with the, I guess, PR or whatever for these companies. It's wild, or not PR, but the customer service, yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, Big Brother Twitter out of control last night, making their own fun. So anyway, today, boring start to the day. There's been a very small amount of game talk so far. It's the same conversations about who from the cookout should win HOH next week. Do we get rid of Claire? Do we get rid of Alyssa? Do we use pawns? Honestly, it's a little bit of a yawn right now. We've got 2 days left until the eviction. We'll see. I don't know how much campaigning Sarah Beth is even going to do. I'm not sure if she realizes she's the target, she thinks Kylan is, or what. But I don't know how much campaigning she's going to do. So we'll see. But I feel like things are going to be kind of boring this week. And a lot will depend on who wins HOH next week. Hello there, sir.
To outrun Moe.
Hello. Bowie, you're such a good boy.
But he won.
Oh, you're such a sweetheart, Bobo. So that's where we're at right now. I want to thank our super chatters from today. Hello. Because you guys are awesome. So we've got, you want to read it? Sheena123, thank you so much. Jefferson Tucker, thank you again so much. And Dawn MH302, thank you so much for the super chat. You guys are awesome. Do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't.
No, don't. All right. Well, that's going to do it for today. Not much going on. Have some fun on Twitter. Hashtag Kai Complains.
Nobody complains.
Yeah. Oh, ARChan1785. Thank you so much for the super chat. Let me just get you on here. Bowie, what are you doing, handsome?
I have to say, please don't break my cuticle.
I know. Oh my gosh. ARChan1785 asks, are you going to wear your heart sunglasses in honor of SB? You're ruining my surprise. No, I was planning on maybe pulling them out on Thursday for her eviction, but we'll see what happens. Honestly, like, I wore the crap out of those sunglasses.
You really did.
A few years ago. They were my go-to pair, and I kept them just in case I want to pull them out randomly every once in a while. But now I feel like whenever I wear them, it's just going to be like SB, you know? So
she ruined it.
Kind of ruined it for me. I don't know.
Those were very popular sunglasses.
They're very cute, yeah. But anyway, that's that. So thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll be back tomorrow for more. So until then, much love. Here's your awkward sign off. Yay!